Hi there, Malcolm here with my 263rd Booktube video, and today I'll be bringing you a review for Century Reign by Alastair Reynolds. I listened to this on Audible, read to me by John Lee, who I think does an excellent job, although the editing style that they use with him can sometimes give you very little pause between the end of one section and the beginning of the next. And so almost in the next breath, you jump from one character setting to another, and you're thinking, hang on, what? Oh, we're now somewhere else. But that does seem to be a standard with John Lee, or at least the editing for him. But apart from that, I think he does a really good job. Anyway, Century Reign is a standalone story set in two locations and times, sort of, not really. That becomes clearer as the story goes on. We bounce between 1950s Paris, but in a 1950 where the Second World War never happened, and so the technologies that were pushed forward because of the war never happened. And we follow a private detective who is tasked with investigating a murder. The police have written it off as suicide or an accident, but the landlord of the dead woman is convinced that she would never have taken her own life. His building is solid enough that it couldn't have been an accident for her to plummet out of her window. She must have been killed. And so this private detective and his partner set about investigating this murder. Meanwhile, we also follow a woman in orbit around Earth a few thousand years from now as she descends to a ruined Earth to try and retrieve some artefacts. And it kind of reminded me of the beginning of the film Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within, where they all drop into this haunted dead world full of nasty things. Well, this haunted dead Earth is full of nasty nanobots and is no less dangerous for it. And so we bounce between her story and the private detective story. Let's get you some names. The private detective's name is Floyd, and the woman in the future is named Olga. I do have a physical copy of it, but as it was free on Audible, and I don't know when I'm going to get around to reading this one, I thought I'd listen to it. So there we are, Floyd and Olga are the main two characters. Yeah, so we bounce between Floyd's adventures on Earth in Paris in 1950, alternative, and Olga as her mission goes wrong, there's a death involved, she's looking to be in a lot of trouble, and is eventually sent on a mission to this 1950s alternative Paris for reasons. Now I can't go into any more than that. The story does take a little while to actually explain just what the hell is going on, and frankly I really enjoyed that mystery. Sometimes you don't know what's going on, it gets very sort of tedious, and it's like, why should I care? I don't know what's going on, nothing makes any sense. This wasn't like that. The murder mystery, as Floyd does his detecting, that was really interesting. The police then set their sights on his partner, who is in the wrong place at the wrong time when somebody else is murdered, and they think he was the one responsible, and so there's more personal involvement going forward with Floyd. And of course we follow Olga as we go further and further down the rabbit hole, just finding out more and more just what this alternative 1950s Paris is, and what's going on, and how this murder is relevant to Olga, and how Floyd is in way over his head. So that's the summary of the story in a nutshell. Vague, like I say, because the answers do eventually come, but not for quite a while. So I do advise you to stick with it, just to enjoy the ride, as it were. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. I enjoyed the time travel aspect of it. Not that it really was time travel aspect, that comes clearer later. I enjoyed the underlying conspiracy behind it all. I enjoyed the standard detecting in the first place. I enjoyed the world building of both future destroyed Earth and the alternative 1950s Paris. It was rich, it was full of lots of interesting characters, and it had a very satisfying conclusion. And what surprised me the most is the fact that this is a standalone. This could very easily be part of an ongoing series, or series of stories set in the world of what. No, it's a completely fully fledged standalone story, all contained. The only negative I would say about it is the transportation between Olga's world and Floyd's world was a bit woolly and perhaps over-explained. It kind of lost me a bit there, and there's not a huge chunk, but a large enough chunk that could have been left out and the story wouldn't have been any different, really. They step through the portal and that's it. You don't need all this weird extra bit with the transport. I felt that was a bit unnecessary, but apart from that, the story was really tight and yeah, booktastic. So have you read Century Reign? What did you think of it? Or if not, have you read anything else by Alastair Reynolds? I'll leave a link to my Why I Read Science Fiction Alastair Reynolds video in the description box down below. Feel free to check it out to have some more ideas. And to that video I am adding the subsequent Alastair Reynolds books I've read since I did that video. Highly recommend this one. So yeah, comments down below please, but as usual if you have nothing nice to say then please keep it to yourself. Thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe and other YouTubey things if you want. And until next time, see you later.